So the other day, Steam was hosting the Melbourne International Games Week, which was this festival dedicated to games developed in the state of Victoria in Australia, and I noticed there were a bunch of games available with demos, these small indie games made in Australia, and I decided it was a good opportunity to make some different content. I decided to pick 3 games and show them to you guys. So I recorded like 30 minutes of each game, and I kind of did my first impressions review. I did have gameplay commentary, but unfortunately Audacity crashed halfway through and I lost most of the commentary, so I decided to just scrap all the audio and just do a voiceover, and I'm gonna actually be able to explain to you the games a lot more clearly than just rambling over the gameplay footage live. So here are my 3 picks from the Melbourne International Games Festival, and we are starting off with The Last Stand Aftermath. This is a top-down twin-stick shooter sort of game that initially I thought was going to be like a zombie survival crafting type of game, you know, like Rust, 7 Days to Die, Project Zomboid. Like it was going to be open world and you would just have to go around and gather stuff, make your base, but it actually turned out not to be anything like that. The game starts off in this dark night level. You have this character and you're supposed to go turn on some generator to scavenge some place, but then once you turn on the generator, this massive horde of zombies just comes after you and it's impossible to beat as far as I know, and it does seem intentional. After you die, you get to pick another character, and that's just the game teaching you about the permadeath mechanic. And then you just start off with a new character, and when I opened the map, then I realized this wasn't a survival crafting zombie game. This was a roguelite, more or less in the style of FTL. You have this pretty linear map that branches off in some nodes, and all these nodes are locations that you have to go to. You stop at each location, you find a fuel canister so you can refuel your car and keep going, and each location further away from the base gets harder. You're supposed to scavenge in these locations and avoid dying, because if you die, you go all the way back to the base and you have to pick a new character. But as the game progresses, you get some upgrades that actually carry on to your next character. These are called mutations. The game has this system where every single one of your characters just is infected by default, and the longer you go through the run with this character, the infection builds up, and that's the little purple bar down next to the health. As the infection gets worse, your character has less health capacity, and every time the infection fills up one of the little bars, your character unlocks a mutation that is like a perk that can either be good, it can be bad. You're given the choice to unlock one of 3 randomly displayed mutations, and these mutations can be advantages, disadvantages, or a mix of both. They're like these wildcard perks. And these perks, these mutations, actually carry on from character to character when your current character dies. And that's pretty much it. You just try to go as far as you can with the resources that you have, scavenge for more resources to further the run, and try not to die. Eventually with the goal of reaching the final level. Now, down to the details, one thing I have to say is the combat is kind of clunky at times, especially the melee combat, and this game has this horrible Breath of the Wild sort of weapon durability system where you pick up a knife, you hit a zombie with it like 7 times and the knife breaks, you have to go find another knife. At some point I had a wrench, I killed like 3 zombies with this wrench, and the wrench broke. It's the most annoying mechanic ever. It's annoying in Breath of the Wild, it's annoying in this game, it's annoying in every game where it exists. Metal weapons shouldn't be breaking like this, and you shouldn't have to like collect them. They're all gonna break and you need to have a massive supply of weapons. It's stupid. The looting also gets a bit repetitive, and I only played this game for 40 minutes and got to like the 3rd level of the map, so that may be a negative. Maybe if I kept playing the game for longer, maybe this would become worse. It's really a matter of I had to continue playing to see how bad the repetition is. This is obviously an inherent thing from roguelites or roguelikes. They all are repetitive to some extent. I really had to just keep playing the game more to see how bad it gets, or maybe down the line the levels get harder, more interesting, that you have to change your strategy. I wouldn't know. This was just a first impression, but that was the impression that I got, was that there is some repetitive nature to this game that might not be your thing. Overall, despite the game being sort of clunky at times, I could see myself chilling out, playing this game, watching a YouTube video on the side, just trying to get as far as I can, unlock all the achievements. It's definitely not groundbreaking, but it is interesting that the game looks like a zombie survival game, survival crafting game, but is actually a roguelite, and I don't think I've ever seen a roguelite style game that looks like this. So some originality there. I'm willing to give it like a 6.5, nearly a 7. If only the combat was a bit better, I would give it a 7, just as a first impression score. I will keep my eye on this game. I am somewhat interested in maybe seeing where it goes, maybe giving it a buy further down the line. Next up, we have a game that was truly surprising. I thought I was going to be playing a top-down action twin-stick shooter set in World War I, but then the game opens up with a screen that is straight out of Silent Hill, and I was like, oh crap, now I'm interested. Conscript is a World War I themed survival horror inspired game that has these awesome visuals you're looking at. The character looks like it's a sort of pixelized 3D model that's very well animated, very interestingly achieved, these visuals, and the backgrounds, the levels are just incredible. The atmosphere is through the roof. The audio design is pretty awesome. It's grungy, it's eerie, strange, stressful. The game really tries very hard to convey the idea that you are in this miserable place, in this war, in these trenches. The inspirations from games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil are obvious, and in my opinion the game does a fantastic job taking those inspirations and putting them to good use. Especially when the combat starts, then you'll see what this game is about. It's stressful. You have these single shot rifles that take forever to cycle, or you just have to deal with like a trench shovel trying to cudgel your enemy to death, and it's super stressful. It's clunky in that old survival horror style where you're supposed to feel like this is a horrible thing. It's awkward, it's stressful to fight. You don't feel like you're powerful or quick, and it really does convey that feeling of stress when shit's going down. I played like 30 minutes and stopped playing because I didn't want to go further down in this demo. I actually want to buy the full game and play the full game and not be spoiled by the demo. The game is super intriguing, and I think it definitely deserves some eyes on it, a lot of eyes on it actually. I won't take up much more of your time explaining what you can see on screen. The visuals speak for themselves, and the inspirations of this game are very clear. I would definitely give this game like a 7.5 or maybe an 8, just off of first impressions, and it's definitely on my wish list. And finally, last but not least, the game that surprised me the most. Kardboard Kings. I looked at this game and it looked like a visual novel, and I don't like visual novels, I don't play them, but there was something about it that called to my attention. And right off the bat, it starts grabbing you little by little. Firstly, with the visuals, they are immediately very striking, as you can see on the screen. And then you definitely have this dialogue like it's a visual novel, and you're just like reading the dialogue, and like there's some sort of story going on. But then it actually jumps into the meat and potatoes of this game, which is actually a business management game. You are the owner of this game shop that sells these cards from this fictional trading card game, and you pretty much have to go online, order cards, check on the news to see which cards are gaining value or losing value, and then you put up the cards on your displays for people to come in the store and buy them. Now, I don't know if the game gets more complex further down the line. I only played like those first 30 minutes. It's not as complicated as other tycoon or business management games that I've played. It's relatively simplistic, but what's there is kind of addicting. And then it does have that added element of like social interaction, talking with some of your customers, making deals with them. There's a sort of story going on. There are these visual novel sort of elements to the game. But I was surprisingly hooked on the management aspect, despite being relatively simple. Maybe because it was actually so simple and not overcomplicated with a lot of numbers and graphs and meta strategies and little micromanagement opportunities. Maybe because it's a simple management game. Maybe because of that, it's so addictive. I just wanted to keep buying cards and checking up to see the prices, choosing which cards to send to these customers that put requests up for certain types of cards. I really wanted to see where this game was going, but much like Conscript, I decided to just stop playing because this is going straight in my wish list, and it's definitely going to be a buy further down the line. So from the first impressions, this game definitely gets, much like Conscript, a 7.5 or an 8, and it's definitely going to be on my library someday. And it's really incredible that the game that was on this list that I looked at and thought this is probably the game that I'm gonna not enjoy out of all the three, this one was actually the one that was most surprising. And I definitely was hooked and wanted to see more, so they did a good job. If you play 30 minutes of any game and you're instantly like, yeah, I kind of want to keep going, then you definitely succeeded in some way. And those were the three games that I picked from the Melbourne International Games Week. I'm pretty sure there were a lot more games on display that were very worth your time. I definitely encourage people to check out these little events that Steam hosts every once in a while. They make a lot of demos available from these indie developers that really would appreciate some recognition. And sometimes a lot of these very original games like Card Kings, like Conscript, these games are on these events. It's these indie developers that come up with these incredible ideas that AAA developers or even AA developers don't usually come up with. So instead of being on the lookout for like the 50th release of Call of Duty or God of War or whatever, pay more attention to these smaller events from smaller studios, these games from smaller indie devs, because that's where the creativity is. And I think I found 3 really awesome games that you should definitely keep your eyes on. And that's the video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like and comment if you enjoyed any of these recommendations. If you've already played them, maybe through all the way to the end, leave your comments saying, what did you think? Do you know other similar games that I should make videos on for this channel? If you know any smaller indie games that need some recognition, leave a comment down in the comment section. But for now, that's all, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.